Hi, welcome to part 2 of our Easter egg demonstration today. We are going to make Italian Easter bread, and I'm going to use the eggs that we did, earlier. So Italian Easter bread takes, it's very, very easy if you make it from scratch, but due to our time and it requires yeast and leavening, that we didn't exactly have that much time to do. So what I did was I bought a French bread loaf. You can buy other bread loaves, frozen ones, and I will put the recipe on Google Classroom if you want to make it from scratch. And what we have to do is make 3 ropes out of this. And we're going to use the eggs that we did in the last video. I'm going to explain that to you. So we want to stretch our dough out. I'm using this rolling pin. And you don't want to take your loaf out of the refrigerator too soon or it gets hard to work with. And what we're going to do is braid it. It's very simple. If you want to get really fancy, there are ways that you can split a loaf into 5 and 6 ropes and blend it in. But for this simple demonstration, we're just going to do 3. I hope you can see this. So I'm just going to make 3 equal segments in the dough, and I'm going to cut it all the way through and separate it. So there we have 3 ropes. We're going to bring those ropes together at the top. And if you've never braided before, let me show you. Separate it really well. And you're going to wrap one over. And you're going to take the outside one and wrap over that. And then you're always going to take your underneath one and wrap over the under. The dough can get a little sticky. It might be nice to use some flour when you're doing that. So there we go. This needs to go all the way under that one, then over, and you get into a rhythm of over and under, over, under, over, over, under, over, under. See how that's shaping up to be a braid? Under. It just takes a little practice with wrapping it. And then, very simply, I'm going to put it on this baking stone. I like to use a baking stone because it doesn't stick when it's done, and things rarely burn unless you leave them in there way too long. So you're going to bring your braid over, and you're going to shape it into a wreath. And you're going to bake this at 350 degrees for approximately 20 minutes. Now, you can make these bigger. This French bread loaf makes a small wreath. It depends on the size of your family and what you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the oven. And previously, I had made a loaf to see, but this is how it turns out. A pretty nice ring. You can even make individual ones if you want to put a little Easter egg in them. Now, the original recipe says to take a dyed uncooked egg and put it in the oven with it. But since I showed you how to dye eggs, mine are already pre-cooked. So we're going to insert those into the bread and make a nice Easter wreath out of it. If you cooked it with it inward, it would bake around the egg. And it would come up around there very nicely. So there's our Italian Easter bread. You can add one more thing to your Easter bread. If you like it a little sweet, we can make a little drizzle to go on top to make it even more festive. So you take powdered sugar, approximately half a cup of powdered sugar, and you add milk. I have a half a cup of milk here and a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm going to whisk this together. And if it's too thin for you, then you can add some more powdered sugar to it. Mine's a little thin, so I'm going to add a little bit more powdered sugar. I removed the eggs so that I could put the sweetened drizzle over it. And this makes it kind of a sweet bread. I probably used a little too much milk. You can cut back on it or add it as you need it. And to make it even more fun, add sprinkles. Colorful sprinkles. Multicolored sprinkles. Even have a few little white dally sprinkles. And now we'll reinsert the eggs. And there you have a colorful Italian Easter bread made in very short amount of time for your family. Oops. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.